And we're ready. We're-
And we're rolling.
And we're rolling. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. 5011 fam, how y'all is?
What's all I got going
Period.
on?
Right. Here we are. Another episode of the 5011 Chronicles. Dee Dee, Jay, doing what we do, having conversations that spark conversation, and y'all, it's time for another 5011 Reviews. We are about to talk about Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man.
Yes.
Yes, the nerds that we are, there was no way.
My favorite. Everybody know I love Spider-Man.
There was no way we were not going to talk about this show, especially with some of like the press surrounding it, some of the things that were said before the show came out. Crazy. To set up us for a show that was a very unique perspective and approach to the Spider-Man origin story. So let's get into it. Let's get into it. Like Dee said, Spider-Man is Dee's favorite. Now, I've experienced a lot of Spider-Man in my life. And he is among my favorites. I've always kind of liked Spider-Man. That sense of humor has always been one of my favorite things about him, is that he's always cracking jokes.
He's like the friendly neighborhood daredevil. Like, he's mouth almighty, cracking jokes, but he's not as vulgar.
Yes. And yeah, or like Deadpool.
I mean, Deadpool. What did I say?
You said Daredevil, and I was like...
I mean, Deadpool.
Yes,
why did I say Daredevil?
Okay.
Child, I don't know why I said that.
You know why you said Daredevil. You know why we said it, but they're going to have to wait for that. There's spoilers, y'all.
I meant Deadpool. He's like a friendly neighborhood Deadpool.
They're not as vulgar, a lot more family friendly.
But they have that mouth almighty playing the whole through the fight.
Always just
I love that.
So we'll start at the origin story, because everyone knows Spider-Man was bit by this radioactive spider, and that's what led to him getting the powers. And he's this high schooler who's really smart, and he was climbing on the walls, and then he started saving crime. And everybody, like, that's one of, I think, the most, like, anybody could recite the Spider-Man origin story, because it's just the most common that I think we've seen in film over the years. There have been, four Spider-Man franchises that are not animated?
Yes.
Then not to mention probably 10 animated.
The first series of movies was good, and then the Amazing Spider-Man,
it didn't do it for me.
It wasn't my favorite. Like, I was like, we didn't have to do this. We could have did something else.
I'll say with the first run of Spider-Man, Tobey Maguire,
loved it.
When we got to Spider-Man 3, I was just kind of like, Spider-Man 3 is where
switch it up.
We needed to switch it up. We needed something different, and it wasn't giving that. But those first two were so good. I never really was invested in the Andrew Garfield Amazing Spider-Man. I didn't connect with him.
I didn't gravitate to it. No, me neither.
My favorite, I have to say, is actually the Tom Holland Spider-Man. I really like him.
He is my favorite.
He is my favorite Spider-Man.
He ate from the moment he showed up.
It has been nothing but just like,
he just showed up on the scene
consistently.
And I think the moment he disappeared into dust, he had took everybody's heart. We was all locked in.
Crying.
We was all locked in.
I did cry. There were tears.
How dare you?
It was the whole what's happening, Mr. Stark? What's happening? Oh, I just couldn't. I just couldn't.
Why are you doing this to me?
And then it's phenomenal.
I was like, no.
Yeah, so good. So good. Okay, so we've all seen and heard and probably 1,000 times over the Spider-Man origin story. I love their approach to it this way. It's always like this one too. I love the approach, the use of time, the use of the spider just biting him as he's like at school, just first day of school, and everything that happens in those first couple of scenes. It's like, wow, this is definitely a very different take. So being that you are such
I love the Doctor Strange of it all too.
Yes. I was going to say, like, I feel like this, watching it, was a Spider-Man series for people like us. Because you had the Doctor Strange. You had the really cool Easter eggs, like this modern Spider-Man animated series.
Yes.
Nothing like the Spider-Verse movie franchise, which is phenomenal on its
It's
own.
literally its own thing, and that's
It's
what I
its
love. It's
own
its
thing. It's its
own
own pocket little
storyline.
universe. So being that you
You
are
know
such
what
a
did make
diehard
me
fan,
mad though?
what's
I'm
that?
sorry, go ahead.
No,
Because
no,
that's your
what?
second
What's
time
that?
trying to ask me that.
No, it's cool. Go ahead. What made you mad?
I was gonna say the only thing that made me mad was like after he got big, it was like we just jumped forward. It
Hmm.
was like I wanted to see the him realizing he got powers and the beginning of it, and then you can jump wherever you feel like jumping to. But just how do you just cut that out?
I'm
That's
gonna
like
say
a key
this.
moment in every Spider-Man of
It
him
is.
having that moment.
But
He didn't
I'll
have
say
that moment.
this. For me, I appreciated them cutting that moment in this show.
Really?
Because what I loved about it was when we get our introduction to him as Spider-Man, he's actually fighting crime. He's in
Right. They
the,
got to the
the
point.
makeshift, they got to the point quickly because we all know we see montages in every single MCU movie, every single show where the people got to
But
build
it's
their
like it
powers
could
up.
be something different of
They could.
how he reacts to figuring out he got the powers. I feel like they could have really, with the way that they did this series, I feel like this probably would have been, they would have had like the best rendition because whoever is doing it is on point. So I feel like it
You
really
have a
would, if
point
they
with
would
that.
have did it, it would have been good. They wouldn't have done what we've seen because none of it is really what we've seen. Like
Hmm.
they kind of stick it to the story, but they kind of making their own story.
They are, because it is definitely its own like universe and doing its own thing.
Yeah,
I I like that
it just would have been nice to see.
they tweaked the casting. Like I think that's one of my favorite
Hmm.
things is the tweaking of the cast. We've seen every iteration of Mary Jane. I'm so happy we don't have a Mary Jane Watson in this season. I'm so
Hmm.
grateful for that.
I
I'm
loved the him and Nico.
him
I
and
love
Nico. Because Nico, for the people who don't know who Nico Minoru is a Marvel hero, and she's from the Runaways. And so she's from the Runaways saga. Those of you, I feel like it's only some certain of us. My cousin and I were talking about this
that.
today too. There's not a lot of people who are these big MCU fans that we find where we can have conversations about Cloak and Dagger and the Runaways because
I did watch
Marvel was
Cloak and Dagger, but
effing
I
the
didn't. I
shows
don't know if I watched.
up.
Did I watch The Runaways? Was that on Hulu? Or was Cloak and Dagger the one that was on Hulu?
I think they both were on Hulu. The
Okay.
Runaways might have been on TV at first. I'm not sure because I definitely didn't watch Inhumans.
I don't watch
Sorry,
TV.
but it might have been on TV at first because I want to say that's how I saw Cloak and Dagger.
I know. I feel like I feel like I did watch
I
Cloak
think
and
Cloak
Dagger
and
one year,
Dagger
but
was
I
on
can't
the
remember the
CW.
Runaways.
I think Cloak and Dagger was on the CW and the Runaways was on Hulu, something like that. But they both ended up on Hulu now. Whatever, it doesn't matter. So it because I was like I can keep going, I will. I'm like, well, if you
If I
think back
watched it,
to
I only watched
March
it
of
once, so I don't
2007.
even. If I watched it, it didn't leave an impression. I probably have to go back and watch it again.
Yeah, so there's 3 seasons. For those who don't know, The Runaways, there's 3 seasons of it. It is the whole premise of it is you've got this group of high schoolers. They all know each other from school, and they just happen to like end up hanging out or having a study group or something, and coming across this link between their parents. Like all their parents were involved in the same thing. That's what it was. All their parents were involved in the same thing, and they all kind of found out. And they like start looking into this thing, and it turns out their parents are supervillains because of the organization they're involved with. And so they're like, this is not right. This is wrong. We need to do something about it. So they end up investigating their parents and basically dealing with the crime and all of that associated with their parents being these, like, all of their parents were like big deals in the world. Like, when it came to, I think you had a couple in like government, but most were in business and science and things like that. So Nico's parents in The Runaways are like these like billionaires. The houses are gorgeous. Like I would definitely encourage anybody to watch the show because they did it when it came to setting the scene, the houses, the way that it's all kind of over the top, but these kids are nothing like where they're from it's a really
Yeah,
interesting juxtaposition. And
yeah.
so Nico became one of my favorite characters because of the Runaways and her power in the Runaways, which in this show we don't really get to see it for real, for real. But what I did love is the fact that they used Nico as a best friend and a balancing
Yeah.
of energy to this
Yeah.
fun, spunky, upbeat Spider-Man. You've got this kind of cool,
Mhm.
a little sarcastic, like a little moody Nico Minoru, which that's just kind of how she is even in the
I
Runaways.
love that.
So
I can
great
identify.
great balance. It was a wonderful balancing act between the two of them.
Yes.
So yeah, I love Nico.
Did you peep that there was like another little spider thing that got away? Did you peep that?
Mhm. The
I'm
little
like,
gooey thing, the black gooey.
yeah, like one bit him, but then one got away, and
hmm
I think was it on somebody, or did it just get away?
Because I think that they're hinting, which we'll come
To
back.
like
We'll
the
come back
Spider
to that.
Verse.
To the Spider Verse and the Venom and all of them. Because that monster, so the monster that starts when we start with the attack, we've got Doctor Strange, and he's trying to handle this monster, and at the same time we're getting the bite for Peter because it's all happening. Just they're throwing a lot of us at us in the very first scene. There's a lot going on in this very first scene, and what I found really interesting is that does that monster not make you think of Venom?
Yeah,
He
it
looked a
did.
lot like Venom. He looked a lot like Venom,
Yeah.
which means he's probably from that planet that Venom is from, because everything on that planet kind of looks the same. Carnage, all of them, how crazy they look. That's kind of like where they come from. And so
Yeah.
I found that really interesting because I'm like, okay, we're already getting a little bit of a Venom tease. And it was just really interesting because what I also like is this show reminds us that Spider-Man takes place in New York City.
Yeah.
This is in New York. So in New York, there are actually a lot of Marvel heroes in New York. Doctor Strange is in New York.
Yeah.
Daredevil is in New York. The Defenders, they're
Child,
all
that
in New
is like
York.
headquarters.
Like everybody is in New York. There's so many people in New York because I want to say Tony's in New York. Like, yeah, Tony pulled up. Everybody's in New York. I think it's really cool that they actually utilize that because that's something they used to do in the old comics and in the old shows
Yeah.
like Spider-Man and Friends and X-Men and stuff. You would see
Yeah.
some intersection because the X-Men are like they're somewhere on the East Coast. It might be like Massachusetts or something, but they're somewhere on the East
They be
Coast.
somewhere close on the
They're
East Coast
somewhere,
too.
but it's interesting because they're not far from New York. So when we see
Yeah.
those intersections between the X-Men and the Avengers or the X-Men and Spider-Man, it makes sense. Or Wolverine and Spider-Man, like it makes sense because I love that they were sticking to that locale because we see some more things, as the show progresses that lets us know again we are
Yeah.
in New York. So we get the spider bite, we don't get the montage, and we get instead him already like kicking butt and fighting crime. And it's interesting because we're at the same time we start getting the introduction of characters that we haven't had in any of like the Spider-Man, the Spider-Verse
Which I
when it
love.
comes to the telling of the story. We didn't get Mary Jane Watson, thank goodness, but instead we got Pearl.
Yeah.
And so love that. Pearl is very much giving like oh my god, I can't believe I forgot her name.
She's
Zendaya.
giving like, oh, that's cute. Yeah.
Like Zendaya is MJ, but Pearl is giving Zendaya a little bit to me.
Yeah. I was definitely gonna say she's giving you like that proper. You know what she's giving? Like Coco Jones's version of Hilary Banks.
Yes,
that is what she gets.
Yes, I love the comparison there because that's perfect. We like Pearl is cool, and then we also get the introduction of this character Lonnie. Because so Lonnie and Pearl end up being a little couple, but
player.
Of course Peter has the crush on Pearl just like you would have if it were MJ.
Face crack.
So obviously we have that going on.
Face crack. And of course Nico made fun of him as she should.
Of course, as she should, as a best friend should. What I'm gonna say is I really appreciated how this show used Peter's journey and Lonnie's journey as parallels. Because you and I talked about this before the show came out, how the guy voicing Spider-Man and made some comments like, this isn't going to be, it's not a woke show, it's not some woke retelling, it's just, we just get in there and we tell the story. But as I'm watching it, especially with the introduction of Lonnie.
Wide awake to me.
That's why I'm like, this is kind of wokey woke. Like,
They're keeping it real, if you ask me.
because there were a lot of things, like, we're talking about, um, it's crazy because I started thinking, I was like, can I say that word? I think I can, but I'm not sure. But we're talking about like organized crime. We're talking about
Mhm.
groups and factions, and I'm
Mhm.
being careful just in case that's a word that's not okay. With with the algorithms,
No,
yeah,
the
the
GANGS.
G word, yeah. So groups, we're we're
Yeah,
talking about groups here.
group
So it's
of
interesting
discipline.
because Lonnie is like this star athlete. He's like phenomenal, perfect athlete, and we begin to see that something that is very much art imitating life, life
Mhm.
imitating art. This Ouroboros moment of I've seen
And I
this in real
love
life.
like the juxtaposition of like Peter's walk to school and then his walk
Hmm.
going home,
Hmm.
just to see and it's just like, man,
And I think that that's why I'm really confused by what the actor said because
child, I
this
don't know what
show
you're
is
talking about.
very clear in its comparison between
Mhm.
two people who have the same level of skill and intelligence in their respective areas, having very different backgrounds and having to make very different decisions based on
Yeah.
those backgrounds and things connected to them. Like, it's just Peter and May. It's just two of them. He's got
Mhm.
his friends, and then he's Spider Man. But with
And it's
Lonnie, it's
two
like,
people who really wasn't supposed to be at that school, but they
exactly,
got in
they did. They
for
were
their
not supposed
different
to be at that
reasons.
school. But they got in. And so I find it really interesting because on the flip side with Lonnie, you've got Lonnie and his mom and his dad and his younger brother, and the younger brother's out there doing things he probably shouldn't be doing, getting
Child, I got
caught up,
mama on the couch
got
just
mama
crying,
just
just
crying down.
crying.
And we see this happen in real life, but even just the way that they managed to, did you notice when he was walking past the cop, when he's
And he like
walking,
slowed down and was looking
and the
at
cop
him.
slowed down to like make sure he knows I'm watching you? Like, what? What
Like,
is this? But it's like
drive along.
real life.
I'm walking.
I'm up here like, hold on,
Literally just walking.
this is supposed to be escapism. I'm supposed to be escaping in Spider-Man. Why does this feel a little bit like real life? Why is this feeling a little too
Okay.
close to home? But it was so beautifully done that things didn't need to be said because the nuances were there,
Mhm.
the subtleties were
Mhm.
there, and people of color
Yeah, it
instantly would
flowed
pick up
like
on
it would in real life.
tension and things like that. Like it's just so well done, so well done,
Yeah, very
and
well done.
it definitely tackled subjects that you don't really see tackled in Spider-Man often. Like you see it in X-Men.
Mhm.
Makes sense for X-Men. You've got mutants.
Well,
They're
in Miles Morales, kind
well,
of a
Miles
little
Morales you would
bit.
see it more, but Peter Parker Spider-Man
Yeah,
you don't see
yeah. Peter
this
Parker, you
struggle.
don't
You don't
see
see
it.
this in the Peter
Yeah,
Parker telling of the story. So I
that's
like
what
how
makes it
they
so unique
made
too.
it so unique. So I even think like it's you could tell the show was going to be different when they casted Coleman Domingo as
Mhm.
Norman Osborn. We get a black Norman
Yeah.
Osborn.
It's
Like Coleman
gonna be a
Domingo,
very interesting ride.
Coleman Domingo, very interesting ride, but like
Eat,
it just so good. Now we have a
eats
black
as Norman
Norman
Osborn.
Osborn, we have a black Harry Osborn, and we're seeing that this man who is financially probably a billionaire, if not a billionaire,
Mhm.
one of the biggest organizations in their universe,
Yeah.
their own little universe. It's just phenomenal. But did you
You
peep
know you wrapped up when you could put your room on do not disturb, okay?
your room on Do Not Disturb? So yes, let's get into why he's important because that actually made me that was a really weird. I don't know. I have some feelings about how this thing went down.
I have
So
feelings about Norman, period.
so
And
before
I
we get to where how he ends up where he is, how Peter gets to being around Norman so regularly. Peter was out doing his thing, saving
yeah,
people. I think he was trying to go to
yeah.
school actually. He had finished up fighting some crime and he was like, I'm gonna go to school because it's about time for me to get there. Then he hears
Yeah.
somebody else shout for help. And it just so happens that this is Harry Osborn being accosted
Mm-hmm.
by
Come on,
hoodlums,
accosted.
by some hoodlums, some hooligans. And
Yeah.
Peter saves him. And Harry,
Mm-hmm.
I think, yes, Peter saves him. Peter saves Harry, and that's that. So when Peter saves Harry, the next day or so, Peter gets this invitation into this internship program with Oscorp. And it's like, we want you to come work for us. We want to teach you things and utilize that brain because you're just brilliant. We got to have you. He gets to the internship, and this was really cool because it's always been in Spider-Man comics and everything that he is, it's always been known that he's brilliant. He's got this wonderful mind. He's incredibly
Mm-hmm.
intelligent. But we're getting a different take on Spider-Man already, just off rip with how it starts off. So we're already getting a different take on the story. Because normally,
Yeah.
didn't you get the Spider-Man on like a field trip? That's normally the origin story.
Yeah, he was.
Okay.
Yeah, he went on the field.
So we're in a world where it's already
Not a
normalized.
whole fight with Doctor
Not a
Strange.
whole fight with Doctor Strange. It's already normalized how active heroes are, how active
Yeah,
portals and holes in the
they got
universe.
this Sokovia thing going on.
Exactly. That's going on the Sokovia Accord or whatever it's called, where they're trying to get all the mutants to be, or any superhero or superpowered individual has to, sign the accord, what leads to civil war. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And so we've got that going on. And so to me, it's interesting because normally we would see Peter still be hyper intelligent, but we've always
Yeah.
seen him as a young adult, working for the Daily Bugle, doing this journalism thing, and science is
Yeah.
kind of on the side, but it's always been journalism kind of forward when it comes to him as a young adult.
Mm-hmm.
But we're actually
Mm-hmm.
seeing him as a high school student be a brilliant scientist, which I think is just really,
Which I love.
I loved it.
Absolutely love
I loved
that.
it so much because I'm like,
I love that he's
this
not
is a
fighting
different
his
take.
Daily Bugle. Ain't nobody
Yes.
got time.
It's like
Even
we
though the
literally
other
get
doctor is an a-hole as
complete
well.
a-hole, Dr. Whitman. So he starts his
Okay.
internship and he is surrounded by other students. It's like Asha and John.
Mm-hmm.
And the one that was a nice little Easter egg there is Amadeus Cho.
Yes, Amadeus.
Amadeus Cho in the comics becomes Hulkling. And Hulkling in the comics dates Wiccan, Scarlet Witch's one of her twins. And so I thought that was really cool because we've already seen Wiccan with Agatha all along. And now we're getting some Hulkling origins. So it's like, uh-oh.
And I love that they're like tying in all these different characters.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's honestly just a testament to where like Marvel as a whole is today, where it's like they've gotten so much of their stuff back now, where they can really like be creative and do what they want, put the characters in that they want. And this one takes like such a different direction than literally any of the other Spider-Man that we've seen. It's when I say good.
It was so good. And even the animation style. At first,
I love the animation style.
At first, when I saw it like in a teaser or something, I was like, I don't know about this. It was just like a shock.
No, it's like a comic book.
I know, but that's what I like about it now. When I saw it, I was like, this looks kind of, I don't know. I was like, it's gonna be childish. Because it looked a little childish. It looked like, I was like, oh, goodness.
And it's probably because like it was a still.
It was a still. Like, that's exactly why. That's exactly why. So seeing it in action, in motion, oh, brilliant.
So good.
Love the color choices of everything, but also the detail.
Norman and Harry's hair though. Like, why it got to be squiggly line?
I think Norman has waves.
I know it's supposed to be waves, but like it's the black and the brown, and that's a lot of scalp in your waves. Like, why do they? But
it's
I know
a
they
lot,
had to do right comic book style, but it's hilarious every time they show him. I'm like,
it looked like his little helmet, his little cap on. It just looked a little. I think that them introducing these different characters and showing again how big and how wide the Marvel comic universe stretches. Because girl, I can't even remember what her name was, and it comes up later on in the show. But the one Jean, when she was slinking around and doing her little nose and stuff, we get a name for her at one point. I was like, I don't even know that hero. That's like that is interesting. I didn't even know who that was. I was like, oh wow, teach me something. Just throwing people out there. But I like how it progresses, and we see like Norman Osborn is actually in his first meeting with everybody. Peter gets called out of the meeting into
Mm-hmm.
Norman's office, and
Yes.
Norman gets
And
him
he
up
puts it on Do
there,
Not Disturb.
puts it on Do Not Disturb. Everything locks up. You can't hear, you can't see nothing up in
Like,
there, literally. And he tells him, like, I know who you are. Oh, I forgot something. Peter had to run and go save somebody. A little fight, a little bit of
he
crime.
made me so mad because
So bad.
as soon as he did it in the hallway, I was like, I know his cameras everywhere. This is Oscorp.
Everywhere.
Like, what are you doing?
Everywhere.
And I was like, maybe they acting like because it's TV, it's a cartoon, they can just do what they want to do, and he just go. But it's like it's
There were
Oscorp. There are cameras
repercussions.
everywhere.
And I think it also, this is when we start getting that sprinkle of the character of Norman Osborn. Because
Hmm.
after Peter goes and deals with the crime and comes back, that's when he's called to see Norman. And clink, that happens. And we have Peter being told by Norman, like, I know who you are.
Yes,
Salute. And he shows him the steel. I see you. Is that not? That's you right there.
I saw you.
That's you. And I've been looking for you. In fact, this whole internship, I made it up because I had to figure out which of y'all it could be. Only so many people could be smart enough to do this.
Yeah.
So I had to.
When I tell you the moment him and Norman had their first conversation, I've had my good eye on Norman
Good
ever
eye.
since because I'm just waiting for the other shoe to drop. You are too meticulous, first of all.
Two.
It's all way too easily connected. Then you're being way too pushy, getting way too involved so fast. I ain't gonna lie. At first, I thought he had set up the fire dude, but we find out later that that's actually Child Octavius. But
Mm-hmm.
at first, I'm like, did he set this up so that he could be his sidekick to show him that he needed him? Like, it was just weird to me.
It was.
But
It was all a
I got my good
strange
eye on
energy.
Norman.
It was a really strange energy
It's
because I
very
agree.
strange.
Like after he lets him know, he's like, I want to help you. I want to be here, like, because you saved my son. So I want to help you. I will do anything to help you. Like anything, whatever it takes,
Yeah.
I'm going to support you. You've got my budget, whatever it takes, new suits. So we get this montage of him trying the suits. It was hilarious. It was
It
hilarious,
was making me
but
mad
it was
because
also
first of all, you
frustrating.
suck at this. You
Terrible.
suck at
He
this.
literally said he is
I
Spider-Man.
got stuff. And then it's like, how are you gonna like? That's what blew me. With like, how are you gonna come and like just railroad him and like, we doing this and we already
Here's
passed
wings.
this
Here's a
stage.
cake.
We ain't passed no stage because I'm Spider Man and I'm decided. So we ain't even hit stage one because we ain't had no
We
conversation.
had no
I don't care
conversation.
what you got behind there, and you got BS after BS after BS after BS. Child, you suck at this.
Mhm.
I don't even like how you like you ain't even you just completely ignoring what I already created, what I already started. And first of all, they told us in the Incredibles that we don't do capes. Were
We
you
don't do
listening?
cakes. He
We do
couldn't have
not do
seen The
capes.
Incredibles.
Child, when he was hanging off the wall,
Because
like
Edna would have definitely backslid his
he,
head about that.
Norman had this big old reveal. He's got this big whole thing, door opening and stuff coming out. I'm thinking you finna come with me a fire Spider-Man suit. I'm like, ooh, I can wait to see what the suit about to be. Bullshit.
He said, the Hornet. What? So we're changing his whole identity. It's not even just,
So
I'm going to
now we're
get
a
this
whole
suit.
other bug. Like, sir, I got bit by a spider. Like, it writes itself. You can't change
You
that.
can't change. No, that
Even though
was,
I wish
I
he had
agree. I
real
was
webs.
quiet.
That was the other thing. I did wish he had real webs. I like real web Spider-Man.
Hmm.
I don't really be with the gadgets, with the
Yeah.
web.
And
It's not my
which
fave.
other Spider-Man had gadgets? Because there was another one with gadgets. Was that amazing?
The Amazing Spider-Man, yeah,
Uh-huh.
he had
I was like, there was
gadgets, and
another
I
one
didn't
that had
like it.
gadgets.
That was
I
like the
like the web.
beginning of me not liking that series.
I agree with you. I like the web stuff a lot
That's the only
more.
thing I didn't really like was that he didn't have real
But maybe
webs.
that's why
That
we
blew
didn't get the
me.
whole montage situation because instead what they did is when Norman was talking to him, he broke down the technology that he used to create what he did. And he was like, we can make it
Hmm.
better. And I do think
Hmm.
that that's kind of cool.
But he can climb up. This is just the climbing up the walls and stuff that he does, right?
Yeah, it's the climbing
Yeah.
and the athleticism.
And
He
yeah,
gets the increased
and
athleticism.
his points is all on 100. He peeping
Uh-huh.
everything.
Peeping everything. That Spidey sense is there for real.
Yes.
Um, So we also have, and I love that this is not a one note Spider-Man series because we have numerous
Mm-hmm.
storylines happening at once. So we got Peter
Yes.
and his story, we got Lonnie and his
Lonnie
origin,
and his
but we
story.
also have this back behind the scenes story happening that's connecting to some of the crimes that's going on. And we see that there's some
Mm-hmm.
type of scientist in the background, kind of
Yes.
making technological enhancements for people, and they're using them going out
Mm-hmm.
commit crimes. And Spider-Man ends up fighting a couple of a Bonnie and Clyde,
Yes.
if you will. And
Child, that Bonnie and Clyde had me tickled. That
shook.
was a good fight though.
That was a great
And
fight.
then here come Norman, old crusty self, like, sir,
Norman,
you blew me. Like I get, like he helped. It was cute, but it just felt forced. Like I don't trust you.
no,
Like I don't know. Every time it's just, I got this weird. I'm still just waiting for the other shoe to drop. Like
waiting
it's
for it to
just
drop.
way too convenient for you to be popping in right now.
I
Like,
feel like there for sure is going to have to be a second season of this, and
hmm
with the way that this season ends, I just feel like there has to be a second season. So clearly, we've really enjoyed the show. We're getting all the little tidbits because even the idea of them having Otto Octavius, he's always a super villain that Spider-Man has always fought. Love
hmm
how he looks exactly like the comic, like Otto Octavius. He looks just like him.
yeah,
Like it's such a
yeah.
perfect depiction. But I feel like he's
And I like
also
his humble
enhanced some.
beginnings.
You know what I did love? The dance scene.
Yeah,
Was surprised how much I enjoyed that dance scene and him just kind of creating mayhem all around him while he is just dancing on his way out. I love
child.
that. And this is also, while this storyline's going on, and Spider-Man is becoming, I mean, Peter is becoming Spider-Man, the Spider-man that he knows himself to be. Because Norman finally gets him a costume that's worth a
Finally,
couple dollars. It's worth a little something, and it kind of aligns. It's a little the colors. I was
hmm
like, are we sticking with these colors?
I'm not gonna lie. I kind
I
of
kind
liked
of
it.
liked it. I was
I
like,
liked it.
I'm not mad at this, but which Spider-Man is
The
this? Who
black
is
is
he?
my favorite though. The all black Spider-Man was my
Of course. I've always liked the all
loved
black
it.
Spider-Man though. It's always been one of my favorites. When he's in
hmm
all black, it's just so fire. It's like just so good.
hmm
But I did like that white and blue whatever situation you want to call it.
Yeah, I
I
liked
wasn't
it.
mad
I
at
thought
it.
it was kind
I
of
wasn't
cute.
mad at it, but I was like, that's what we're saying. And as the technology
You
improves, as his skills, huh?
you want to go more red?
Yeah, I really enjoy the red and blue.
You know what? I don't mind that. I don't mind more red.
I
Classic.
like man, just like
Love
a,
a good classic.
you know,
Classic or black is my vote.
that's it.
I
That's how
wasn't
I
mad at
feel.
this one though. I
I
kind of
wasn't
liked it,
mad
but
at it.
classic or black are
I
definitely my
liked because it
vote
was
all the
clean.
time.
It was definitely really clean and just like different. Like it was just a different. And I was like, I'm not mad at it.
Mhm.
It's kind of sleek. Um,
Mhm.
but the red and blue is just like it's
It's
iconic.
yeah.
It's iconic.
It's
Um,
Spider Man.
it's Spider-Man. So we're getting all of these little tidbits and we're seeing him fighting crime and learning how to get better and get stronger and get faster and his senses to be better. And Norman is helping him and ultimately again from Norman helping him to one day he just finished some crime, swung up in Norman's office and boom, Harry was there. He was just like, I'm taking the mask
Yeah.
off and everything. So it was just kind of now Harry's part of the journey with us.
Yes.
And you see that there is a huge difference because with Harry, I don't feel any ulterior motive. I feel
Right.
transparency. We see a journey with Harry and Nico at some point that is really
Mhm.
cool because you're seeing that's what real life is like too. Like when you
Yeah.
have mutual friends who don't know each other, they have a mutual two people who
Yeah.
have a mutual friend, and then that mutual friend really wants y'all to hang out, and you just be like, I
Mhm.
don't know, because she just seem a little okay. I mean, that's your friend. I ain't gonna say nothing about your friend, so I guess I try. So I really like that. That I feel like was depicted pretty accurately.
Yeah.
Some kid will be able to watch that and maybe get an idea of how to navigate joining their friends together. Because I'm like,
Mhm.
okay, I could have used some of this back in the day now. Like when I was a freshman in college and I was trying to join friend circles and it didn't go well. Um,
Oh.
oh yeah, it's fine now. It's wonderful. I ended up with the friends that I needed. So God is great.
Period.
Period. Period. But I think the big episode of the first half of the series, like that we have to like break down more, is for sure gonna
Hmm.
be like episode 5. Like episode 5 was like a really, it was
Yeah.
Molly Whoppers everywhere in episode 5.
Galore.
Like so
The
much
girls
going.
are fighting.
The girls are
The
fighting.
girls are
So
fighting.
as Peter's been getting stronger, so has Lonnie in a certain degree. But at the same time,
Hmm.
he's been on this journey where, because his brother was involved with some faction that he had
With
no
Big
business
Donovan.
with Big Donovan. We
Hmm.
find that Lonnie has decided to give himself up in the place of his brother's freedom, and um, sacrifice is something that most siblings would do for another, especially when they like
Yeah.
care about them
Especially
and
when you're the
want to
older
protect them. When
sibling.
you're the
Yeah.
older sibling, that's also kind of expected. It's kind of expected.
Hmm.
But we see Lonnie essentially throw away his football career, his school career, his high school career, to become an active member of the 110. So he joins the crew, and
Yeah.
he's in the crew. And where was I going with? Okay, he's told to be somewhere. They have something they need to do, and it's a fight. It is a
Yes.
street fight. It's their crew versus the Scorpions. We finna fight it out.
Hmm.
We got beef because
And then you got another fight simultaneously happening because they
with
flashing back and forth
with
with
Spider-Man
Mila
and Mila.
and what was I can't remember the other guy's name. The big guy, big square head.
Oh my gosh, I see his face. I want to say his name was something like, not Otto, because that's Octavius, but it was something like that. It was something short. It wasn't a long name. It was
Yeah.
like, and I want to say it started with an O, but I don't remember his name. That's the
She
name I
broke
can't
her
remember.
friends out. And she
Broke him out,
was still trying to fight Spider-Man. Child, she was determined.
and they was like, "Look, girl, we need to go. This is our chance to go.
She's like, I
You
don't
done knocked him down. We need to go." And instead of doing that pride of hers was like, "This is the best fight I've ever been in. I want to fight. I'm gonna take him out."
Fight.
I stopped myself.
You
I'm gonna unalive him. I'm gonna get
Yeah.
him. Oh, I did so good. I'm so proud of myself with that one because it was about to just come right on out. I was about to
come.
say it
I heard it.
right on out, right on out, and I was like, okay,
Mhm.
reflexes, because it's definitely not reflexes, but okay, but it's the juxtaposition of the fights because they both were having equally difficult fights.
Yeah.
There was also this symbolism. The fight meant something really big for each of them as their like respective individuals, because we come to find out with Lonnie's fight, he proves his loyalty to Big Donovan and to the crew
Yeah.
because
Saved his life.
saves his life. He takes a little,
Hurt himself in the process. I'm like, sir, you play football.
right. He get a little cut. I was trying to find the best way to say it. A little just dash across.
Little jab in the arm.
Little jab in the arm with some
Little pokey
sharp.
jab.
Little pokey jab. Yes. So he gets a little pokey jab. And he proves himself because Big Donovan saw him. Saw him defend him and protect him. And so with that, he is brought into the fold. You are a official member. You need a name, and we get the name Tombstone. And Tombstone is someone from the comics who didn't have as big a run, but I think it's going to be really interesting.
I love that they're doing this.
Use this because we see two people coming from the same place, we'll say. Not the same background, but coming from the same place and veering off in very different directions because life led them in very different directions. And maybe there is some privilege at play too. So I think that was really interesting because on the other side we see Peter get Molly whopped. Like she whop. Like she relentless. She was quite relentless with that fight. And if it wasn't for her friend, that would have probably been his last fight. He would have been done for. But because of the friend stepping, oh goodness. Y'all excuse me, I'm getting over a little sinus infection, so I've still got a little stuff. But because of the friend stepping in and, stopping her from going overboard, he was able to survive the fight and able to apprehend both of them. And that was how
Yeah.
that ended. But it's really interesting because when he wakes up, he's in the hospital and like he's like wrapped up, everything done been jacked up, eye black. I mean, like he just been like she really
Oh,
Mila put a
toe up.
whooping
She
on him.
whooped his.
He was not ready for that caliber of
Toe
fight.
up.
And we see the shift in his mindset is like, I'm not strong enough yet. Like, I really need to be training more because I'm just not strong enough. Like, I almost, if he hadn't stepped in, I would have lost that fight. So I'm not strong enough.
Right.
And so that helps us kick off the
And this
second
is
part.
Octavius's fault.
This is Octavius' fault because
And this
this
is
is
why
how
now
that
he's
ends.
on Norman's radar.
And that, exactly. So he ends up on Norman's radar, and that's how the first half of the series ends, which is just such a nice little because for me,
Just wrap it up in a little bit.
I don't know what direction I thought the story was going to head in and how we were going to get there, but when we got to this episode, I was like, okay, so you're in Norman's radar now, so that's how we're about to get to you. But even like how that plays out, it's like. So it was
I
just.
wonder what they're gonna do with Octavius, like how they're gonna tell his story.
Oh.
Because I can already see it's gonna be very, very, very different from what we've seen before.
Very different from what we've seen before, and even him like breaking out of the prison and everything. It's going to be really interesting because I'm sure they're going to continue to sprinkle in other villains. Like we're going to get some Scorpio. We're going to talk about Scorpio in our next episode because we're going to get on a part 2 on this because this is a good chat. It's a good time.
Yeah.
But we've got Scorpio. We've got like little hints at, true Doc Ock. Like, so we're going to get Doc Ock at some point. We see that. We get a little sprinkle of Venom, so we know that that's going to be coming. But I think we're going to see some other villains that we haven't seen in modern times. Like, I would love in the second season to get like Black Cat. Black Cat is one of my favorites in the Spider-Man verse, because I've always felt like she toyed that line with anti-hero, and also being a villain, because she's definitely villainous, but she would team up with Spider-Man with things that she just believed in. And I've always liked the little relationship between him and Black Cat. I loved how she toys with him because it's very similar to how Catwoman toys with Batman. And so it's like this, it's a toying back and forth relationship. It's a cat and mouse game, literally, on both ends, on both stories. So I've always liked Black Cat, but I think certain villains we've just seen a lot of. Like, I don't know that we'll get Mysterio in season 2. I don't know that we'll get Electro in season 2. We might get, that lizard man, Reptile, whatever his name is. We might get him.
And see, now that Harry is helping Spider-Man, I feel like, one, you ain't gonna tell me he ain't got a sample of Spider-Man blood that Norman didn't. So I think now that he has free time, I think we're going to see him start to experiment with what he's seen just working with Spider-Man firsthand and being hands-on with that. I think that's going to be like the beginning of like a little seed in his mind.
I think we're going to see Norman take his DNA research to another level because we already got a hinting at a Green Goblin. It wasn't him. He's not the Green Goblin yet because for those of you out there who don't know this, the Green Goblin is really like psychosis for Norman Osborn. Like, he's not himself when he's the Green Goblin. And for him to get to that level, some things have to happen. So I think this second season, that might be some of what we get. We get a little, we'll talk about it a little bit more in this next episode, y'all, because I'm not going to spill too much of the tea in advance.
Yeah.
But we want to thank y'all so much for tuning into this episode. Just having a little key with us about your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man on Disney Plus. Tune in, check it out. If you haven't, we just gave you a good reason to go
you
look.
are missing
Go ahead and catch up on it
good
because
stuff.
next week we're going to talk about the finale implications and give our own predictions. So we will see you again next week in another episode of the 5011 Chronicles. Peace.